Recent years in Bollywood has seen a sharp rise in biopics. I feel a larger part of this movement is fueled by the identity crisis our country is going through these past few years. And hence, filmmakers are finding it necessary to reimagine and reinvent our past. And these biopics are a step in that direction. Now, there are definitely overarching themes to this movement, like the Hindu past being reimagined by movies like Manikarnika, Bajirao Mastani, Padmavat, and most recently Samrat Prithviraj. Or a patriotic movement through films like Shershaah, Sardar Udham Singh, Uri, and others in the works like Sam Bahadur and Gorkha. Or celebrating women like Shabaash Mithu and Gangubai Kathiawadi. But like any film, a biopic is a story of characters and how they are perceived by the audience. A good filmmaker is able to bring a character to life through the medium of films only if the audience is able to empathize with the character. And different films use different ways to create this empathy. But what about a biopic? A real human being is a much more complex affair, and selecting moments from their lives becomes a big part of the creation of the character. Here comes the overlap of the real and the imagined. And this is where a film where truthfulness is an inherent ingredient in the story, things become tricky. What happens when a master filmmaker decides to manufacture empathy through the medium of film? And what makes a film interesting?
So Mr. Gandhi wrote to me.
Ambition ये थी जब बड़ा
कांटों को मुरझाने का खौफ नहीं होता।
we work differently. When I say is we collect ideas around the theme which we want to say, and then we try and force fit those ideas.
Is another word.
Force fit is another word to into every scene. So the thing is that we want to make every scene with a beginning, middle, and end. Every scene a complete film by itself, so that every scene becomes interesting. Otherwise, in a film, you will see high points keep coming after like 20 minutes or something, and otherwise you are kind of linking to reach that point. So here the idea is that every scene should be either, we call it the LCD principle, that either it should make you laugh, it should make you cry, or it should be dramatic enough to
LCD
engage.
principle, I love it.
Rajkumar Hirani is responsible for some of the most well received and interesting films in Indian cinema. But a biopic is the truth, isn't it? And the truth, at times, can be uninteresting. Let's look at how a director manufactures empathy, especially in the context of a biopic. And for this, we are taking the example of Sanju, simply because it doesn't very clearly fit the themes that we have mentioned earlier. To understand what Hirani does in Sanju, and to help you see through any other biopic, we will first have to understand how characters are established in any film. There are primarily 4 ways of establishing characters. 1. By the acting of the actor playing the character. 2. By the actions of the character. 3. By the reactions of the other characters around them. And 4. By how the form treats the character. Let's look at Sanju and how Hirani uses these methods. The first is simple. The way an actor portrays a character gives us the first judgment of the character's traits. If he is anxious, conscious, astounded, lonely, or extremely happy. The second method is to put the character in a particular circumstance, and how the character acts in those circumstances defines who he is as a person. For instance, any action hero's courage is defined by how, when surrounded by enemies, he decides to fight rather than run.
मैं कहना कि बहुत ही मिसअंडरस्टूड आदमी हूं, और आप लोग अगर असली संजय दत्त को जानना चाहते हैं तो मेरी आत्मकथा पढ़िए। अध्याय 1, बापू और बाबा। बापू यानी महात्मा गांधी और बाबा यानी मैं संजय दत्त। हम दोनों के लाइफ का ग्राफ काफी मिलता जुलता है।
In this scene from Sanju, also the opening scene, Sanju is reading his own biography, which apparently has been commissioned by him himself. When the biographer, played exaggeratedly by a blumbering Piyush Mishra, compares him to Bapu, Sanjay reacts angrily and even violently, rejecting greatness. By the end of the scene, the fact that this is a person who is having his own biography written becomes secondary, and Hirani is able to establish a completely contrary character trait: humility. The third method by which we understand characters is how other people are reacting to the central character. For example, take this scene from Dabangg.
बाबू जी इससे एक फायदा और है
जी
इनका बायां हाथ काम नहीं करेगा इनकी तंबाकू खाने की आदत छूट जाएगी
जी
चलें चौबे जी
जी
और जल्द ही ड्यूटी ज्वाइन कर लीजिए
This person is in the hospital because Chulbul Pandey shot him a few scenes earlier.
रिपोर्ट लिखिए कि पुलिस ने डकैतों को घेर लिया था गोलीबारी हुई क्रॉस फायरिंग के अंदर हमारे एक नौजवान बहादुर सिपाही को गोली लग गई
गोली लग गई लेकिन हमारे सब सिपाही सुरक्षित है सर
किसको गोली लगी चौबे जी
हमको सर
और किसी को चाहिए प्रमोशन
नहीं सर अगली बार.
But this is how he reacts.
साहब भी न है ना बहुत शरीफ है नहीं
This reaction makes us see the character through the eyes of this person, and we are able to see a completely different character. Now, let's take this scene from Sanju.
अपनी बीवी के अलावा तुम और कितनी औरतों के साथ सोए हो? इधर देख के जवाब दो।
Sure, of course. Prostitutes को गिनूं या उनको अलग? नहीं, उनको अलग रखता हूँ. क्या है कि विनी जी मैंने ऐसे तो कभी डायरी तो नहीं लिखी, पर एक दिन दारू पी के टोटल मार रहा था तो कुछ 308 तक याद आए. कुछ मिस हो गए होंगे, डेफिनेटली. चलो आप सेफ्टी के लिए 350 लिख लो.
Look at how the other characters are responding. In the history of mainstream Indian cinema, especially for a family audience, I can't think of any character who can make that claim and still be regarded as a good character. Especially when saying it in front of his wife. But look at Anushka Sharma's character's reaction. It is this reaction that is changing the context of what he's saying, along with the music. It is also vital for his wife to be in the frame throughout the scene, right next to Sanju's face. Her non-reaction to his statement legitimizes what he's saying. The subtext here is that there must be something good about Sanju that his wife, played as the ideal Indian woman by Diya Mirza, is still with him. The culmination of all of this leaves the audience with only one thought. Such a honest person, no? The fourth method is the trickiest of them all, because this method can only be understood by viewers who understand how films are made. In a good film, everything in a film is put there for a reason. In technical terms, it's called the mise en scène. Every sound, every music piece, every camera movement is for a reason. And all of this put together is the form of the film. Let's take music for instance. The most obvious and the easiest to explain. How Hirani uses the music is an emotional indicator which influences the audience's perception of the emotion of the scene. For example, look at this scene and notice the music used. The plot is that Sanju and his friend are drunk and have come to his girlfriend's house to get more booze. His girlfriend thinks he has come to propose marriage and wakes up her parents.
See, Daddy. The real reason why we are here is कि आज बहुत तलब हो रही है. कंट्रोल नहीं हो रहा.
देखो हम लोग की उर्दू जरा वीक है. इंग्लिश में बराबर बता दे तलब का मीनिंग क्या है?
Uncle, talab means desire, need, want.
As the scene unfolds, Sanju is talking about wanting alcohol. But the subtext and the joke of the scene is how the family thinks he's talking about sex. When you think of it, it's a very rude scene. But how Hirani uses music to change the mood of the scene, making it, inappropriately in my opinion, funny. What happens when we see it again with a different soundtrack?
See, Daddy. The real reason why we are here is कि आज बहुत तलब हो रही है, कंट्रोल नहीं हो रहा।
देखो, हम लोग की उर्दू जरा वीक है। इंग्लिश में बराबर बता दे, तलब का मीनिंग क्या है?
Uncle, talab means desire, need, want.
See how it changes. Hirani uses these methods again and again to contradict the actual emotion of any setting. In A Drug Super, Sanju puts a toilet seat on his girlfriend's neck. Yet while leaving, she says,
रूबी बहन,
उसे कभी मत बताना उसने आज क्या किया, वो सह नहीं पाएगा। कहना साली रूबी आई ही नहीं।
when he sleeps with his best friend's girlfriend, he gets away with saying,
तब मैं श्योर हो गया ये मेरी भाभी नहीं बन सकती। मेरे बेस्ट फ्रेंड के साथ धोखा, फिर क्या, नो गिल्ट करो घबाघब। तो नाम क्या था?
साले उसके साथ सोया और तेरे को नाम भी नहीं याद?
घबाघब के बाद नाम पूछो, बैड मैनर्स नो।
He reaches his girlfriend's father's death and makes fun of the dead body, and Hirani uses this music.
पर प्रॉब्लम एक ही था, मैं ड्रग्स के नशे में टोटली आउट था।
पापा, पापा मैं ऐसा छोड़ के नहीं जा सकते पापा।
संजू ये पापा नहीं है।
कम ऑन उठो, पापा ट्राई करो।
संजू ये पापा नहीं है।
तभी मैं सोच रहा था पापा इतने श्रिंक कैसे हो गए।
There are other things, for example, you see Sanju's wife constantly in the film, and it feels like she plays an important part in Sanju's life. But the filmmaker decides to not include anything about her in the story of his life. Why? Is she not important? Or somewhere did the filmmaker decide that her story didn't fit into the story he wanted us to know? See, you have to understand in all of this, Hirani is not doing something that any other filmmaker won't do. All filmmakers use these methods. My problem is using this in a biopic, where the audience knows that the person is real and is also kind of familiar with his story. I personally don't have any opinion about Sanjay Dutt and his life, simply because at the end of the film, I don't think I know anything about Sanjay Dutt that I feel is true, or at least has been told truthfully. Even if it is, how Hirani manipulates the audience emotionally constantly makes me ask myself, is he hiding something? And I feel this paranoia is a big part of watching any biopic. You have to constantly remember that a film is a filmmaker's viewpoint and needs to be seen with critical eyes, like you should with everything else, even this video. Thank you so much for watching. We are a very small group of people. It will be great if you can help us and support us through Patreon, buy me a coffee, or consider directly donating to us through the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Please share.